Hey y'all, and welcome back. This is part 2 of the dungeon tile crafting tutorial. If you followed along with part 1, you should have something similar to what you see before you. We are going to start by priming this piece, that is, getting it ready for the inevitability of spray lacquer in its future. And to do that, we want to seal up the foam to prevent any of the lacquer's suspension fluid from eating away at the foam and all the detail we put into it. My preferred sealant of choice is this, wood glue, but if you're cheap like I am, you can also use Elmer's school glue. It's actually a great alternative, and we're going to tint it with just a little bit of black craft paint so that we can see where we've painted. I forgot to take a photo of the process, but you're going to want to mix these in about equal proportions, and then just slather it all over the piece. Although try not to get it on too thick because you don't want to gum up all of the detail that you spent so much time putting in there. You're shooting for coverage similar to what you see here. This is still while the paint is wet, but once the paint is dry, I'll actually use a drop of that same Elmer's glue in each corner to affix it to the back of a dirty paper plate and treat that like a painting handle. And now with it affixed to our painting handle, we will take that same matte black acrylic paint and we will just slather it all over, making sure we go for total coverage here. Now we want to wait for that to be absolutely bone dry before we move on to the dry brushing step, where we will use a paper towel with just a little bit of a couple of colors of craft paint. I'm using pewter gray and I believe ice white, snowflake. These are like 97 cents at Walmart. You're going to want to make sure that you're using a very fluffy bristle brush for this, something that's soft so that it won't necessarily scrape off your black paint. And for the first step, you're just going to get that gray on the paper towel and load up your paintbrush as much as you possibly can. You don't necessarily have to worry about this. You want to go for more or less total coverage. The more the merrier here. Basically, you don't want to get it into the very deepest cracks, but everything else is fair game. With that first dry brushing step done, you don't even need to really wait for it to dry all that much. By the time you get your paint loaded onto your brush, it should be ready to go. And the trick here, you don't have to clean out your brush, is just get as much of that white as you want on your brush, but buff most of it out onto that paper towel. You want very little coverage here. And you're just going to scrape and scratch on the surface as gently as possible. You'll notice here that it's going on a little thick, and that is actually, believe it or not, by design. We're gonna fix that in the very near future. But you just want to cover all of the highest spots on your piece with this snowflake white. Now, I know this looks borderline cartoonish now, but we're going to tamp it down using our old friend black matte paint, and we're going to need a mixing cup, just a little bit of that matte black acrylic paint, and I like to use 70% isopropyl alcohol, but if you don't have that, water will do just fine. You'll go into your measuring cup with just a drop, maybe 2 drops, of your black paint, and you're going about maybe 1 part paint to about 10 parts alcohol or water. The only difference really using water here is that water will take just a little bit longer to dry. Once you get that alcohol in there, you're going to start to notice them mixing, but they won't want to mix thoroughly. You can give it a little swirl, but personally, I like to come back with a nice clean brush and just stir the shit out of it. Just make them as close to 1 unit as possible. It's you saw me brushing up on the sides there. That was just a viscosity test. And now, just soak your piece. You don't actually want to be light-handed with this. You want to basically drench it in this wash, which is what you've made. You've made a black wash. And that black wash is going to pool in the deep recesses where we might have accidentally overbrushed with that gray, and it's going to return some life to the shadows and the crevices in the piece. You'll notice here I'm just sort of slopping it on. And once you've got it on there, you'll come back behind it with a paper towel, and you'll use that paper towel to just blot away the excess that is on the very top surfaces. And once you've got that mostly dabbed up, I will grab my original for comparison, and what do you know, they look pretty similar. Once the last of that wash dries, I like to hit mine with just a little bit of matte clear enamel. I prefer Rust-Oleum. You can get that at any hardware store of your choosing except for Home Depot, because fuck Home Depot. And at that point, it will be more or less table ready. But you can take it a step further, because let's be frank, there's only so firm you can get a piece of craft foam. If there's any interest moving forward, I will happily create another video in which I show you how to take your dungeon tile, create a mold of your tile using latex, and then replicate your dungeon tile using resin, which will be harder, heavier, more durable, longer lasting, and all around have a better feel. If there's any interest in that, please let me know. Otherwise, thanks for tuning in on what was a fun little experiment. Maybe I'll make more of these in the future.